Hello, friends, and welcome to yet another episode of Lessons from the Masters brought to you by Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund. Friends, before this session, I was browsing through various websites and found an interesting survey by Nelson, which says that 6 out of 10 consumers prefer to buy new product or services from brands which are familiar to them. So, as a mutual fund distributors, today you are competing with big brands who have devoted customer base and unlimited marketing budgets. The only way to stand out in this competitive world is building a solid brand that can give you massive growth in future. So, to talk about brand building with us, today we have with us Hemant Rustagi of Wiseinvest. Hemant is a mutual fund industry veteran with over 17 years of experience in mutual fund distribution. Enjoying a stronghold in financial market, Hemant is skilled at identifying emerging trends and managing evolving investors' need. He will be in conversation with one and only Mr. K.S. Rao, Head Investor Education and Distribution Development at Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund. KS is synonymous with education of investors and distributors. He is on a mission to make India financially literate. So, in fact, under his leadership, ABSL Mutual Fund has backed Asia Asset Management Award for the fifth time. This is the fourth time in a row. So, welcome Hemant and KS, and many congratulations to KS on receiving the award.
Thank you, Nishant, and good evening, Hemant ji. Namaskar. It is great to have you. It's the beginning of the year, and Nishant, I love the article which I read today about the financial MFDs, need of the MFDs, and number of the MFDs we need. This is a great beginning to start with your great article which has appeared today. And good evening to all. Indeed, it's great to have you all this evening with us, and it is about not exactly the brand, but about how that MFD business can shape it up. And we have this is a part of the learning from the masters, lessons from the masters rather. It's a, and today we are getting somebody is a master, and incidentally he is the master. You can use the chat. I can have one question for you. I call him. He started his journey being with creating many masters. Can anybody have a guess for it? Put in the chat section. Hemant ji got a rich experience in the industry for little over 3.5 decades, and he started the journey with masters. What is that master? I can also give a clue if anyone can get right. It is first diversified equity fund in India. Anybody can use the chat section and do that. Thanks, Abhishek, for congratulating me, and it's good. Wow, Ganesh Anbag ji, namaskar. You are perfectly right, and it's a master share. We remember in 1986, which is the first diversified equity fund, and it is like it's all moving encyclopedia with Hemant ji. It's a great honor to connect with Hemant ji, and incidentally, I had a privilege. It is in a Purvashram. We belong to the same Purvashram, and lot a journey. And today we talk about brand. शायद somebody said very nicely. आजकल लोगों के साथ काम करते हैं, but लोगों के साथ ज्यादा काम कर सकते हैं. That's what Nelson survey can say. 6 out of 10 people means log are important, but logo is also equally important. It is we are the face of the company, but face of the company where we need to create is how we can voice, how we can brand. And this is the 15th session of lessons from masters, and it's like today's master is Hemant ji, and as Nishant was mentioning about his experience, a lot of people have given the answer after Ganesh ji said. It's nice. Satya Prakash, Gopal Krishna. Wow, it's a fantastic interaction. It's a glad. I think who is the host? Kindly get Hemant ji focus, please. Somebody who is hosting the webinar, who is the host, kindly do that. And thanks, Hemant ji. Again, I will put this chart. And first of all, congratulations. The way it's a great journey. It was not easy journey, and it's such a rich experience. Truly, I honor that. It's if somebody want to know something about the mutual fund journey in the industry, and somebody want to know the difficulties, hardships, and joys, and the privileges, and the future, it is you who can make that happen, and who you can share that. And today with 1,350 crores, and it is like we always call invest wisely. In fact, my definition for SIP, I keep telling people is save wisely, invest rightly, and plan smartly. That is a SIP, but it is a wise invest has become most popular, and 8,000 investors, and the more so you are the figure, and I love the articles which you write, and I was going to your website. I've gone many a times. This time I went with a very different scam. That website gives such a simple website, give a clarity to serve the customer what he wants. Either it is a calculator, or it is a communication, or it is a service, or it is an NRI desk, or it is a taxation. I think it makes the job easy. And I have seen you many a times in the panels which you spoke many a times about the importance of the service and importance of the creating the systems. You are the pioneer in that. With this, I'll stop my lengthy introduction, but it is, however I speak, I can speak for next 45 minutes introducing you last 35 years of your journey. I'm sure it is not sufficient. The first question I can start straight is, Indian mutual fund industry, first equity fund has started diversified equity in 1986. Similarly, your career in 1986, and it is 18 years of a rich career in the mutual fund industry, working with many of the fund houses, India's best and the global best, and also AMFI being at AMFI. All that the rich experience, it is not easy because it was that rich experience gives a comfort zone. That's where I'm in the comfort zone. I am in the 28 years in the industry today. And what made you to get out of this comfort zone and think of a distributor role? And it's also in 2004. It is not in 2020 to think. Now it is easier to think rather. What is that made you?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Rao, for this wonderful introduction and taking everyone through my journey. It's a pleasure and honor to be conversing with you on this wonderful and interesting topic. My journey, or I would say my journey with mutual fund industry was actually very, very interesting and full of learning. I started my career with Unit Trust of India, and trust me, when I decided to join Unit Trust of India, that was a phase actually. Unit Trust itself was trying to find feet and trying to grow. It wasn't a household name yet, that it became subsequently. So many of my friends were wondering, why am I taking this decision? Because that was a time when everybody wanted to be a probation officer in the banks, and that was a place to be. And they were all wondering where I'm going, like, why am I deciding to join Unit Trust of India? But not that I knew too much about mutual fund, but I knew something interesting that was happening at Unit Trust of India. And I thought it'll be really great to start my career with that. And I obviously read about the fact that mutual funds were big industry abroad. So I said, okay, if this is the only fund which is available, and there is an opportunity, because I was part of the first batch of direct recruit officers in Unit Trust of India. So joined there and was again fortunate enough to get an opportunity to launch a number of products for UTI. Be it Master Share, be it Master Gain, be it monthly income scheme. I think in my stay for around 7.5 years, I would have launched more than around 26 products. And in those days, what was happening was that, when you launch a new product, you're responsible for everything apart from everything else, even for operations, for accounts, managing large teams, because everything was happening in-house. So there was a great experience of how to deal with people, you got to learn so much about different products. You learned about accounting, operations, very, very rich experience. And so it was again a very, very interesting period there. Then when the industry was thrown open to the private sector players, I looked at it saying that, okay, this is very interesting. Even though again, there were a lot of apprehension whether these private sector players will survive, who will trust them, who will give them money. UTI was a giant in those days. So, I've been always a bit of risk taker. So I said, no, I think this looks like an opportunity. Let me, kind of go on the other side of the industry. So some of my colleagues were not very sure whether I'm doing the right thing. They said, why do you want to leave this organization and go to some new organization which you don't even know whether it'll survive or not survive? But again, I took the plunge. In my second phase with the industry, I got an opportunity to launch 3 fund houses, all 3 multinational fund houses. This was again different experience. I realized when I came out the difference there, because there is no one in the team who knows anything about mutual fund. You are the only one. So you set up team, get approvals, set up processes, distribution network, investment back office, everything. But again, very challenging, a lot of learning. And the best thing was that you're working with some of the best multinational brands, and you get to learn a lot from them in terms of how they have done business in different countries, how the industry has evolved over there. So, that is how my journey was. And of course, I was very actively involved even with the MFI in the second phase. In fact, I was a part of two important committees of MFI. One was the one that decided the registration of distribution. So that was the first one. The second was on research and statistics. So the MFI monthly that you see today was something that was started with that committee. So it was a great experience, lots of learning. Now, let me put my decision of leaving that industry and coming on the other side on the distribution proper perspective. See, I got an opportunity to visit certain countries to see closely how the industry evolved in those countries. Because you're working with multinational companies, you get an opportunity there. And what I realized that the problem that we were facing in India, perception issues, or whatever issues we were facing, products, close-ended funds, everywhere the industry had to go through that phase. So it gave me a lot of confidence that, okay, if the industry has gone through this stage in these countries that become so large, there is no reason why that won't happen in India. Because in India, we always had very high saving rate. So it was obviously going to be challenging to move people from traditional to market-linked product. But I could see that there is going to be a lot of potential. Second part was that when I got an opportunity to meet some of the best IFAs abroad, I realized that there is so much potential if this industry has to grow, right? You decide whether you want to be a part of one of the players or you want to be the other side, start a distribution, because what I saw there was, it was amazing. I mean, I met some people there, they said way back, saying that, look, we don't go to a client house to meet. They have to come and meet us. They have to come with spouse, okay? We don't meet them singly because we want everyone in the family to be participate in that. No phones call to be taken. I mean, I said, this is amazing. Obviously, the scenario in India was very different then. I said, okay, one day this is going to happen. So I realized that, look, if this industry has to grow, okay, then there is going to be opportunity. But even in India, I saw some of the distribution companies, how they evolved and how large they became. I said, there is a great opportunity here to be in the distribution because you get to pick the best of the products from the industry. And having seen the way these IFAs became big, and the way they were doing the business, that was really, really inspiring for me. And so second thing was, I was very passionate about investor education back then also. I was invited by a number of publications to write articles for them as a guest columnist. And then I was also doing a few TV shows, which I still continue to do. I still continue to write. And I think there is no one better than you to understand that if you are passionate about investor education, right, it cannot be done in piecemeal. It cannot be done on and off. Okay, you have to give it more time. And being a part of the industry, and there was certain obviously limitation, you're traveling, you're busy with your work, you were not able to do what you wanted to do, right? So, and then of course, there was certain compulsion. For example, when you're working for a multinational company, everything that you write in the newspaper has to be vetted. So imagine like a newspaper comes and say that we were writing a special supplement, why don't you contribute for that? And then you send it for approval, it takes time. Every time you want to do TA appearance, get approval. So there was a lot of limitation also in terms of that. Quite understandable because the company has to be careful in terms of what is being said and what is being given out. So both these factors, then I decided that, okay, this is the industry which is growing now. There have been like ups and downs. Let me take the plunge. Came out, started Wiseinvest, experienced something very different came out. The difference was earlier, you were working for big brands, the brands which are already big internationally, but maybe you're trying to introduce them in India. You were setting up teams, creating teams. It was easy for you to do that because you had the brand backing, you had the resources, you could hire the best talent. Here you are on your own, resources are yours, convincing people to work with you, starting from scratch. But trust me, I found the whole thing very, very thrilling and very exciting. And I'm really happy that I took that decision when I look back.
Thank you so much, Hemant, taking us to that journey. And it is amazing journey, and it is not, and it's a very admirable journey. And shayad all apna MFDs, those who are on the, those who are participating now, shayad some of them who are watching this little later on the social media platforms, they may be getting more inspired with you, and this can give the journey, we are at a right profession, right one. And you put it rightly, you're working for the big brand, but it is working from the big brand, and now it is a 16 years journey. It is a sweet 16 years journey. Our 17th year it's entering. And it has become one of the big brands. The Wiseinvest has become one of the big brands. And the best part of your website, I've seen, most of the websites we talk about vision, mission, and the other stuff. And you have put it very differently: focus, passion, and the agility. And you have very, very clearly demarcated what team is doing, what you are doing. And congratulations to you for writing 1,000-odd articles. And each of these things I can go and read it. It's a highly insightful, and it is not easy job. It's a marathon. Now coming back, this is all that made the household name in in Mumbai, and today it is 1,350 crores and 8,000 investors. It is like one of the fund houses you have, and it's like it's I can say 40th fund house. That's a kind of thing. And what has that worked for you? And because we have काफी MFDs and काफी RIAs अपने साथ है आज, क्या आपके लिए काम किया है, क्या आपके लिए काम नहीं किया है, or what are the hurdles you faced, and how you faced that hurdles very easily? It is not easy. Journey was not easy.
Well, I totally agree with you. Like I said, it was very challenging. There were a lot of hurdles. Like I said, back then, if you needed resources, you just have to send a mail and the money will come or funding will come, right? So everything was easy. There were still challenges of trying to establish, the international brands in India. But when you're on your own, like I said, you are the one who is sending a mail, you are the one who is getting a mail. Everything you have to be done by you. No, but I think there were a couple of interesting things that we did, and I think that really worked. One, having been a part of the industry, when I decided to take the plunge, decided to start this Wiseinvest. Three things, if I were to tell you. The first one would be that I was very clear right from the beginning that our philosophy is going to be always client first. Okay, because one of the reasons why I decided to start this distribution company was clearly because one, I thought there was a gap in what was being offered to the client and what they deserve to get. And the second thing is, having worked with some of the big brands, including obviously Unit Trust of India, you realize that what is the right way of moving forward and how do you ensure that you are developing a business or building a business which is sustainable. So that was the first priority for me. And a part of that was to create an organization where every member of the team had a clear career path. And I'm talking about both in terms of professionally as well as financially. So that was the first thing that I focused. So let me elaborate a little bit on this. When I talk about the client first approach, basically when we started this company, at that point in time, the NFOs were very popular, the closing schemes were very popular. Okay, there was this myth of everyone believing that buying at 10 is much cheaper than buying at 100. So those were the different days. And I was very sure that, we have nothing to do with something like this. We are going to be out because this is not the criteria for someone to invest. But that became the first challenge because the client themselves wanted to invest in new funds. Everyone was talking about a new fund offering, but we were very clear right from the beginning. I was very clear that we are going to be researching open-ended funds. Okay, closed-ended fund obviously had some inherent issues which I never liked, and barring one somewhat type of closed-ended fund which structurally have to be closed-ended, but otherwise this is how we began. And what happened after some time, the dust settled, and SEBI changed the regulation. Everyone looked around, investors looked at their portfolio, found that there were no NFOs, there were no closed-ended funds. There were funds which were doing very well. For us, we never had to reinvent the wheel because everyone has to go, many of them go back and saying that earlier 10 rupees were better, today 100 rupees is better. We didn't have to do that because we were already talking about well-established funds. So that was the first step, I think, that allowed us to actually get loyalty of customers. Okay, that's where our relationship went to a completely different level. They realized that we are dealing with someone who is actually interested in ensuring that we are not taking unnecessary risk, and they want to manage our money very seriously, right? On the team side, okay, barring a couple of my colleagues from UTI, everyone in the team was completely new. They had no idea about what mutual funds were because I didn't want anyone to get the baggage of the past, and because you're trying to do something different. So if somebody comes with a conditional mind, it becomes very difficult to change it. Trust me, I spent a lot of time training each one of them, spend a lot of time explaining to them how we want to do business. Okay, made a clear career path for them. For example, some were recruited directly for marketing, some were moved out of back office. Then there were even guys who were doing audio duties, were brought into back office, from there to marketing. I think that is something that we evolved over a period of time, and everyone could see that. Now, what it does for you is that when you have a team which is stable, when you have a team which is seeing that the growth is happening, both professionally and financially, now it works very well for a company, because on one hand, you have a client who's begun to trust you. On the other hand, you have a team. There is a stability, there is a consistency, the same relationship manager talking to the client for years together. Second thing which we did was that, we actually created manuals, because I wanted system and processes to be there. Because having worked with some of the multinational companies, what I realize is that what is the thing that worked for them? Imagine a company which is based in US doing successful business in 30, 40 countries. How do you do that? You do it only through systems and processes. You can't have management traveling to so many countries and watching it, personally there. So I was very clear that if we had to build an organization which is going to be stable and we're going to have great growth, we created manuals. There are manuals for everything, for distribution, for back office, for client servicing. Now, what it did was, one, it improved the quality of service, again, which helped us in building trust with the client. And the second thing is, everyone in the team had clarity. They were not dependent on somebody to tell you about every step, what is to be done. So those manuals and processes really helped us. So I think that was the first thing that we really focus on. And the second was clearly, like I said, the systems and processes is something that always was my focus, and even today, this is my focus. And the third thing that really worked for us was that we are one of the early adopters of technology. Okay. Now, what we did was we followed two-pronged strategy. Now, on one hand, we started explaining to the existing clients that, look, we need to move to digital transaction. There were obviously a lot of apprehension back then, but then we tried to convince them, and slowly we saw the people was accepting it. On the other side, what we did was, around 4.5 years ago, we took a decision that we will not onboard any client unless he or she agrees to do digital transaction. Because if you continue to allow this to happen, you will never reach a stage where you can have maybe almost everyone doing digital transaction. And what I realize is that this is going to be very, very important, not only for improving our efficiency, but I never wanted clients to get a feeling that just because they're not dealing with a bank or a private wealth or a large organization, that they're missing out something. I wanted them to have everything on offer, which they would get elsewhere, of course, with a better human approach, better quality of advice. And around 1.5 years before the pandemic hit us, we launched our own app. And I'm very happy to share with you that there are a significant number of transactions that is happening on the app today. And I think because of our initiative of moving to the digital, both through the website, through the app that we developed, it was much easier for the clients to transact during the pandemic days when it started. Suddenly, everything came to a halt. And if imagine somebody wanted money and the digital transactions were not allowed or not there, I think that really helped. So I think these are three things, if I were to list, which really worked for us. And today we reach a station at a stage where, like I said, that we have client loyalty and they feel very confident. And we have a stable team of around 45 that has seen growth. So clearly a combination of these two has done very well for us.
Thank you so much. Such a detailed, narrative about entire journey. I'm sure, friends, those of you, there are already questions are flowing, and you can put your Q&A for all those questions which we take with MNG little later when we are moving past on the branding. And but few learnings. And the first question could be like, just to reiterate, the digital adoption is the last one to start with, which is made. But what stands out, MNG is is a thorough journey from 0 to 1,300 crores, 1,350 crores, and maybe soon it will be 2,000 crores in a couple of years' time. In the next year, we celebrate 2,000 crores. And I could see some of the participants today who are there, who are also champions. I know 10, 15 of them whom I can glance identify who are above 100 crores kind of it. And rest of you are aspiring. Probably what stands out, Hemantji, on 2-3 parameters is his thorough understanding on the markets, his ability to foresee the trends, and his ability to see the changing needs of the investor, and making the transition easy, and creating a committed, passionate team, and which is having an entrepreneur culture. And last but not the least, creating systems and processes. Friends, it is always said, peoples may fail, but systems and processes will never fail. That's where we can create that kind of system, and where we can not only create wealth, but wealth of experience to our customers. That's the secret of Hemant. I mean, let us get back a little more insights. And here is one question where I'll just take offline kind of it to put it to Hemant. Hemant, you are one of those, you are a visionary in many things. And one of those visionaries is you are the early adapter of systematic investment plan. Today industry boasts of 11,000 crores book. But you have started this SIP when there was a hardships were very high, when there were it's a postpaid, you need to take bunch of checks and that checks will not go through, then it will come back and load of service issues. But you are very successful and you created that culture of investing regularly. Can you show one or two experiences of this road less traveled to the super highway of today?
Well, as you rightly mentioned, I think this has been an amazing journey, especially when we talk about systematic investing. We all knew what were the benefits of investing through systematic, but it was really tough days in the beginning because the banks would not accept the standing instruction, wherein they kind of debit your money from your account and put it in the mutual fund. So the only option available was that you have to give 12 post-dated checks. Imagine. First, you are talking to someone who doesn't know anything about mutual fund, convince them about mutual fund. Finally, they agree to put money in mutual funds, saying, okay, this is how I'm going to do it, like a recurring deposit. And then the person has to write 12 checks. And I've seen the way the registrar used to function in those days. You used to have those kind of pigeonholes where daily checks would be kept. And imagine the person who was managing it was not there on that particular day. I don't know what would happen to those kind of checks. So from that to the stage that we have come here, it's been a really amazing journey. And today, as you rightly mentioned, we have around 11,000 crore SIP book. So this is, I think, one of the hallmarks of the mutual fund industry. And there have been like amazing examples. I can tell you that when we started this, when we were doing seminars or I was writing articles, people would come and say, and would convince them to start SIP. It's when you look back, they meet you today. It's such a wonderful feeling that someone comes and tells you that, oh, I started SIP and then my son has become a doctor and that happened because of the money that I got, or I bought a house. So it's been like this is one of the amazing journey, I would say, as far as the growth of mutual fund and our growth is concerned. And so sometimes it pains a little when there are talks about saying the industry didn't do much about propagating that culture. Trust me, industry, distributors, everybody did, but there were some hiccups, some issues that didn't allow this to go in full swing. But right now, we are on the highway of systematic investing. I think there is no limit at all. You would see this growing, and I think that's one of the main reasons why the industry is going to grow and why the distributors are going to grow from here on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And friends, I think, some of us who are today doing our SIP books, we are enhancing, and life is much more easy, a click of button. But somebody who started 2004 and that is the time where SIP is conceptualizing and people are getting to understand, operationally most difficult, and you get a lot of objections. Imagine the hurdles. Because to reaching any milestone, which is not easier, and it is typically like Indian roads in those days. And I mean, today morning I was listening to Nitin Gadkari ji, the way super fast roads he is laying everywhere. That is the way I think mutual fund SIP book is going. And kudos to the champions of our MFDs across who propagated. And in fact, the mutual fund industry is also respect MFD so much. Soon, AMFI is planning, embarking on expanding mutual fund distributors in a big way. And coming back of today's session, I think topic we are entering a little late, but we will see. And this is about Hemant, about the branding. It's there are few things like how you define the brand, and second part I can put the question is Wiseinvest become its own brand. I mean, and the brand name is phenomenal, and I see you as you yourself, apart from Wiseinvest, you are a big brand because when I open any channel any day, you are somewhere available and most respected, most revered, and people look forward to listen to you, and most of my AMC colleagues always would like to be partnering with, including me. I mean, you are most sought after. And what is that? How you define the brand? and how Wiseinvest has become, and what is the journey around that?
Well, I think both the questions are very, very interesting and very, very important, Saurabh. If we talk about what is a brand, so I would define it as brand is client perception of you. How do the client perceive you, right? If I have to make it even simpler, I would say that's your reputation. Now, if you see how the branding evolved, you know that centuries ago, right? You used to have these cattle ranchers who started marking their cattle to distinguish their cattle from the others. Then the potters started using it. Then the products came in. Then the logos came in, and the entire concept of branding has actually evolved over a period of time. So today it's very different. Today it is not just the logo. It is not just the product that you're marketing or selling. It's your promise to the client. So as I mentioned, brand is how clients perceive you. It's your reputation. And what is that you promise to the clients? So it's a combination of these three is what I would call. Many times, we talk about confuse it with marketing, creating awareness, but brand is much, much deeper. And this is what the way I look at brand. As far as, Wiseinvest is concerned, I think how we built the brand, I think it all began with my passion for writing, as I mentioned earlier. I used to write for a number of, newspapers. I would be invited to write as a guest columnist, so I was writing it. And many of the newspapers in those days, used to offer, give you, pay you for writing articles. But since I was very passionate about it, I never, used to politely tell them I won't charge you anything. Just requested them because I was in the process of creating a brand that apart from the fact that you carry my name and my company's name, and if you could, mention my email or my telephone number so that people can start interact with me. Obviously, it was not possible for some of the national newspapers to do it, but the local newspaper or the regional newspaper, they started doing it. And I think that was the starting point. That's how I started getting emails. People started understanding what Wiseinvest was. And, one of the important things for, branding is that you need to have an emotional connect people. And the fact that they liked what I wrote, they followed what I wrote. And there was a time, even in those days, I used to get more than 100 emails per day. And I would try my best to answer as many as I could. Because, when you get a mail from your viewer or from somebody who's a reader of yours, you can't ask someone else to write because they want to listen to you and they understand whether it's you or somebody else who's doing it. So I should try and answer as many as possible. So it basically began with my passion for writing. That's how I started. And then what happened was some of the publication approached us saying that since you've been writing for us, why can't we do some, shows together or some events together? Which I said, fine, let's do that. And it was amazing because some of these events were attended by thousands of investors. There was an event with almost 1,500 people came. There was an event where 1,000 people came. So you see what was happening was, while you were connecting with them through your articles, here was an opportunity for us to be face to face, talk to them, understand. They understood what we are, what I was, and what they wanted. So I think that was a beginning. And of course, apart from that, I was doing shows for some of the channels, and there again, it allowed me to connect with people. So that, for me, that was the starting point where we started establishing our brand. Then time came, I said, okay, now this is giving us a reach to people. We are reaching out to people. People are connecting with us. They are understanding what we are. Now, I wanted to then reach out to a group of people or create a community and address them on a continuous basis so that you can build up long-term relationship and they really understand what exactly we stand for. In around 2007, I started a newsletter called Wealthwise in 2 languages. One was in English and one was in Marathi. So it was going as a kind of a newspaper. This basically what we do is there is a letter from me where I talk about what is happening in the markets, some of my articles, and views of the leading fund managers, CIOs, CEOs. And I must thank them for really supporting us over a period of time. I think almost all the fund managers have written for that. Fund analysis, performance. We never sold a product. We never marketed a product through that. And before the pandemic hit us, we were almost distributing 40,000 physical copies, apart from the fact that it was available on our website. So we built that database from those readers, those who attended our events, and also through the referrals, in the sense that anybody was reading it, we told them that if you want us to send it to somebody, please refer the name to us, and that's how it began. So I think over a period of time, what we saw that even if people were not dealing with us, I got letters, mails from people saying that we love what you are sending it to us. We look forward to it. So there was a consistency in that. I think that's very important to understand to build a brand. There was a consistency. You're trying to build a connect there. And they said, but we can't deal with you because we are already having a relationship with some other distributor. We don't want to disturb that, which we appreciate. Okay. So that was again something that we were able to connect with people. So, and then of course, because of the pandemic, we've not been able to send the physical copies. We are sending them through emails. We keep getting number of requests through the website saying that we would like to have this verified. So I think the second part that really helped us was this newsletter that we did. The third very important thing that really worked for us were the referrals. When we talk about referrals, generally we talk about acquiring clients here and there and, getting reference from the client saying, okay, we can get some fresh business. I believe that the referrals played a very important role in our brand building. But there were three sources from where we were getting referrals. Okay, one was the experience-based referrals, which was coming from the clients. The client who have been with us for so many years, they were regularly giving us referrals. Okay, they were introducing us to their family members, friends, relatives. So we were getting referrals from experience. Okay, so that's how the client started contributing to that. Second was the knowledge-based referrals. Now, as I mentioned to you that we were sending these newsletters, people said that we love what you are sending to us and we look forward to it, but we can't deal with them. But whenever there was an opportunity for them that any of their friends wanted to start investing in mutual funds or their relatives wanted to start mutual funds, they were quite open. They referred a number of people to us. So we were getting, because they were quite convinced, we saw the consistency, they saw what we were talking about, and they saw that things were panning out exactly the way we envisaged and expressed to them in the newsletter. So we were getting that. The third was the reputation-based referrals. So when you're writing articles, you're reaching out to people like what you're saying. And so there were a lot of referrals coming through that. So there were these three sources through which we get referrals, because it's very, very important, again, like I mentioned to you, that there has to be emotional connect when you're talking about building a brand. And that is what I think we were able to achieve through referrals. So if I were to look at three important things that really worked for our branding, these three would be.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, हेमंत जी. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. शायद आपके लिए छोटा सा रिक्वेस्ट है, ब्रिजेश शोभा से सब आप हिंदी में भी बताना पड़ेगा. But I think next question we will have a bilingual. And जैसे मित्रों ये बताया गया कि the brand क्या हो सकता है, reputation. ये reputation कैसे बन सकता है, reputation के साथ. And a reputation के साथ what is that, you can get is that referrals. I mean, it's a 3 hour process. Typically it is a reputation. You get it with the reputation of doing arbar karna hai. It's consistency ke saath. If you go to his website, shayad aapko ye lagta hai, the mailers, the number of mailers he got. Never a month there was a mail which is missing. It's a newsletter which is missing. That's where, I mean, this is what mentioned in the branding nowadays. Content is a new ad and hashtag is a new tagline. If you want to become a brand, you need to have your own content. And you need to simplify. Today we are in informational overage. All that what we need to is we need to filter. I can get from Hemant ji only one vibration which always comes to us is it's a passion what he got for and he does for, and probably his values and his purpose and his vision to create something, and he is playing on his strengths. Shayad, if you want to become a brand, these are the things of back of mind where you need to keep. Now I'll go back. There is also a question which is coming from Amit Patel, and this was also a question which I thought of asking. Amit Patel पूछ रहे थे कि how MFD can create a brand in this scenario, and it's many times due to lack of glamour, clients are not valuing us. How an MFD can become a brand, how MFD can build a brand. Shayad it can be a bilingual answer or English answer.
Well, I think, again, that's a topic that we're discussing, how MFDs can build brand. But उससे पहले मैं एक चीज बोलना चाहूंगा कि MFDs के लिए important क्यों है brand बनाना. तो अगर मुझे एक लाइन में उसको बोलना है तो मैं कहूंगा कि जो brand है वो आपकी अवेयरनेस को बहुत बढ़ाते हैं, पहली बात। दूसरी बात, आई थिंक इफ यू सी फ्रॉम द म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, हम सभी चाहते हैं कि हमारी क्लाइंट के साथ रिलेशनशिप बहुत लंबी हो, राइट, लॉन्ग टर्म रिलेशनशिप हो। वो क्यों लंबी होनी चाहिए? बिकॉज हमें पता है कि उतने लंबे समय में उनकी इन्वेस्टमेंट अमाउंट बढ़ेगी, राइट। वो जब करियर में जब ग्रो करेंगे तो उनका जो और इन्वेस्टमेंट हमारे पास आएगा, और इतने लंबे समय में वो अपने फैमिली के लोगों को लेके आएंगे हमारे साथ, फ्रेंड्स को लेके आएंगे, रेफरल्स देंगे हमको। तो हम सभी चाहते हैं कि हमारा रिलेशनशिप जो है वो लॉन्ग टर्म बने। अब लॉन्ग टर्म रिलेशनशिप कभी बनेगा? वो तभी बनेगा जब आप क्लाइंट की लॉयल्टी अर्न करेंगे, राइट। क्लाइंट की लॉयल्टी अर्न किए बिना वो आपको ये इस तरह की लॉन्ग टर्म रिलेशनशिप बिल्कुल नहीं बनने वाली है। अब ये लॉयल्टी कैसे बनेगी? बेसिकली जो से मैंने पहले कहा कि इमोशनल कनेक्ट होना चाहिए। इमोशनल कनेक्ट होगा क्योंकि हम बात कर रहे हैं उस पैसे की जिससे दे वांट टू अचीव देयर ओन इन्वेस्टमेंट गोल्स ऑफ देयर लव्ड वंस। सो दिस इज एन इम्पोर्टेंट मनी, एंड वी नो दैट Indians and everybody is very emotional about their money. So जो emotional connect जो आता है, right, then only the loyalty will come. And this emotional connect comes from branding. जैसे मैंने कहा कि branding क्या है, right? Branding आपका promise है, branding आपके perception है, right, और आपकी reputation है। जब आप ये तीनों चीज बनाते हैं तो इसके लिए आपको वो पहली बात तो हर म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर को कोशिश करनी है कि वो अपने ब्रांड बनाए। अब the question is now, how do we build that brand? Now, I shared some of the things that worked for us, okay? But before we talk about how the branding can be done, I would just like to say that I think each one of us need to understand the difference between creating awareness and branding. Many a time when we create awareness about ourselves or market something, we think, okay, I'm doing branding, but the branding is actually deeper. Creating awareness is important because you want to go and tell people that I exist here, right? But the branding is deeper. Okay, so we need to understand the difference here. How do we build brand? देखिए, whenever we talk about branding, हमें लगता है कि यार ये branding जो है ना बहुत expensive चीज है, बहुत ही sophisticated है, बहुत ही complicated है। तो जो छोटे MFDs हैं उनको लगता है कि हम कर पाएंगे, हमें करने की जरूरत है या नहीं है। पहली बात तो ये, आप कोई भी साइज की आपको ब्रांडिंग करने की जरूरत है, सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट ये हमको समझना है। और ये शुरू कैसे हो? ये एक्सपेंसिव हुआ करता था पहले, जब हम ट्रेडिशनल जो मेथड्स से ब्रांडिंग के वो उसकी बात करते थे या ट्रेडिशनल मीडिया की बात करते थे। आज हम डिजिटल ईरा में हैं तो अभी वो इतना एक्सपेंसिव नहीं रहा, सिंपल है, बट कंसिस्टेंसी की जरूरत है। couple of things that can be done. One, I can tell briefly. One is that I think it's important to have your own website. Website gives you an opportunity. You can maybe even start with the basic website. It gives you an opportunity कि आप अपने बारे में क्या कहना चाहते हो, अपने आप को कैसे पोजीशन करना चाहते हो, वहां से आप शुरुआत करते हैं, अपने व्यूज शेयर करते हैं वहां से। उसके बाद फिर धीरे धीरे आप उसको इंटरैक्टिव बनाते हैं, फिर वो लोगों को ट्रांजैक्शन करने देते हैं। आई थिंक एक तो वो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है। दूसरा, सोशल मीडिया, चाहे वो फेसबुक हो, चाहे वो ट्विटर हो, आप उसको यूज कर सकते हैं। एक चीज का ध्यान रखना है, every mutual fund distributor has a universe of product as well as the area in which they want to operate. You need to be very careful when you're trying to do branding that you're not going all over the place, because you don't want to create awareness at a place where you can't service those clients or you're not having wherewithal to service them. So while using the social media, you have to be a little careful in doing that. The third thing is, आप अपना खुद का मीडिया बना सकते हैं। आज इतना आसान है कि आप वीडियो बना सकते हैं, वीडियो बना के अपने वेबसाइट पे डाल सकते हैं। आपको जो भी एक्सप्रेस करना है, आज आपके लिए कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी बनाए ना बनाए, आप अपने लिए खुद के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी बना सकते हैं। आप वीडियो बनाए, आप क्या शेयर करना चाहते हैं, छोटे वीडियो बनाए, आप अपने फेसबुक पे डाल सकते हैं, आप अपने वेबसाइट के ऊपर डाल सकते हैं। और उसके अलावा एक इंपॉर्टेंट चीज विच आई मेंशन वाज क्रिएट सम काइंड ऑफ न्यूज़लेटर through which you share information, right? It need not be again a very elaborate one. It can be just sent through the email. Be very consistent in when you are sending. It can be your own content, or even you can share the content, because today the content is available which you can share with your client on a regular basis. So I think these are some of the activities that you begin with. But like I said, it's very, very important to understand that branding एक process नहीं है, वो end result है, right? तो ऐसा नहीं कि खाली इन चीजें करने से आपका ब्रांड बनेगा। अब जैसे मैंने शेयर किया, आपकी क्लाइंट सर्विसिंग कैसी है, राइट, आप उनको कैसे ऑफर कर रहे हो, ये सब चीजें जो है कुल मिला के आपकी ब्रांडिंग में आपको हेल्प करते हैं। तो जैसा मैंने कहा, एक प्रोसेस नहीं है, खाली एंड रिजल्ट है। whatever suits you, whatever works for you, over a period of time आप realize करेंगे, and that's where you need to start focusing on. But these are broad things that you can begin with. और जैसे जैसे हम आगे जाएंगे वो evolve होता है, and we will find out ways that this is something that works for me, and then you need to just focus on that.
Thank you so much, Hemantji, and it was it's a very profound message. Probably, if I can look at sum it up in three things, the way you put it, it is like before you design your brand, आपका vision, it's like what action you promised, what audience you served, and what kind of audacious goals you have, and the repetition, as you put it very nicely. And friends, brand is something makes you. You become discoverable, you are there in that market, and who you are, and people respect you. Shayad, one message very clearly, Hemantji was telling, if you want to become a brand, you need to be social, means in the social media, not exactly your WhatsApp and Facebook, but the way what you communicate and how you communicate. How channelizing your communication, and you need to get that discoverable, and all that branding exercise, what you need to do is, you should get your trust right. Shayad, निवेशक के विश्वास के साथ आपके विकास, and that's where you need to look at. And here हेमंत जी one comes is, कभी कभी confusion ये होता है, branding या marketing ये दोनों एक ही है या marketing कुछ अलग हो सकता है. What is the difference between, how you differentiate marketing and branding?
Well, like I said earlier, creating awareness and branding is different. Marketing is when you market a product, right? तो वो जब आप marketing करते हैं, उससे आपके क्लाइंट की अटेंशन आपको मिलेगी, क्योंकि आप एफर्ट कर रहे हैं, आप जाके बता रहे हैं कि ये मेरी सर्विस है, दिस इज व्हाट आई ऑफर, सो दैट्स कॉल्ड मार्केटिंग. So it will get you the attention of the client or the prospects. But branding, as I mentioned earlier, is deeper, and that branding is something that will allow you to retain that attention. Marketing आपको attention देगा पहले, लेकिन आपको retain करना है, वो होगा आपकी branding से, और उसके लिए जैसे मैंने कहा, वो 2-3 चीजें आपको करनी पड़ेगी क्लियरली. कि ब्रांडिंग की अगर आप बात करें तो एक तो क्लियरली आपके पास एक स्ट्रैटेजी होनी चाहिए कि आप किस तरह से अपने आप को प्रोजेक्ट करना चाहेंगे, राइट? ब्रांड आइडेंटिटी बनाएंगे आप, विच विल बेसिकली हेल्प यू इन गेटिंग द लॉयल्टी ऑफ द क्लाइंट, और जो इमोशनल कनेक्ट की हम बात कर रहे थे. और फिर उसके बाद आता है ब्रांड की मार्केटिंग. और ब्रांड मार्केटिंग का मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप अपनी हर जगह पे ऐड दे रहे हैं, लोगो दे रहे हैं, राइट? यू हैव टू फिगर आउट वेज हाउ टू बूस्ट प्रेजेंस ऑफ योर brand there. So I think these are 2-3 steps that you need to understand. Important, coming back to what you asked me, marketing and brand, like I said, branding is much deeper than marketing, right? So it's not the question of marketing ya branding, right? It's a question of how each one can help, obviously. So branding come first, marketing come later. You can market only when you establish yourself as a brand, which is something that how this thing should work for everyone. So it's about how these both can contribute to your branding. It's not either marketing or branding.
Thank you so much. And I'll take some questions from the audience. Then I can go back to the other flow. Shayad pehli question coming from Vinod Kumar ji. He says, I'm a retired Air Force personnel. Vinod Kumar ji, congratulations from being Air Force to the MFD, and kudos. I'm wishing you all the good luck. My age is 41 years. People from this section, defense, prefer to join government services, but I have taken the plunge and challenge against the wind and grown well in MF distribution. Can you give me tips to do better?
Sorry, can you just repeat the question? I couldn't hear the second part.
I am doing better now. I have taken the challenge. Can you give me more tips to do better, including branding and marketing? Vinod Kumar ji.
Oh, sure. You want me to answer in Hindi or?
Yeah, whichever the way you feel. Fine. There are a mixed audience. English will be the best way.
Okay. I think we'll do a mix of this. So, पहली बात तो हमें पता नहीं कि आपने क्या-क्या एफर्ट अभी तक किए हैं. Clearly, अगर आप ऑलरेडी इस प्रोफेशन में हैं, आपके पास एक क्लाइंट बेस है, तो आई एम श्योर आपने कुछ स्ट्रेटेजी बनाई है क्लाइंट एक्वायर करने की और अपनी ब्रांडिंग की. आई थिंक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है वो. दूसरी बात, इससे बेटर कैसे कर सकते हैं, जैसे मैंने पहले भी कहा आपको कि यू हैव टू फाइंड वेज टू एक्सप्रेस योरसेल्फ, टू रीच आउट टू पीपल. आपको एक कनेक्ट बनाना है, राइट? कोई भी इन्वेस्टर आपको पैसा देगा मैनेज करने के लिए, वहां पे वो लॉयल्टी आनी चाहिए. वो कैसे आएगी? वो पैसा तो बाद में आएगा, बट पहले आपके पास क्यों आएंगे वो? इसलिए जैसे मैंने कहा, वो आपको एक इमोशनल कनेक्ट बनाना है, आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन शेयरिंग करनी है, आपको उनके लिए यू हैव टू बिकम ए सोर्स फॉर देम. दैट ओके, यू आर a source that is giving them information in terms of what is happening and what is good for them, what are do's and don'ts. That's how they start building that trust, faith, and then the relationship goes to the next level. Second important thing, I think, referrals को थोड़ा सा different तरीके से देखने की जरूरत है. Like I said, sometimes we look at referrals in a very casual manner, saying, okay, sometimes we go to the client and saying, why don't you give me a referral? That's not the way it has to be done. Like I said, there are 3 different ways how referrals can come to you. और हमें सबसे important चीज है, referral में आपका काम बहुत आसान होता है, because आपके जो client हैं, वो खुद आपके brand को market कर रहे हैं, so you don't have to reach out to them. वो जैसे मैंने पहले भी कहा कि relationship based भी होता है, कहीं ना कहीं आपको अपने आप को establish करना होगा. जैसे मैंने कहा that you maybe become a source for them. Referrals के ऊपर ध्यान दीजिए, because referrals is very easy, it's much cheaper, and it's long lasting, right? That's how you begin, and then you start looking at other mediums, because आपके लिए पहले को critical mass बनाना जरूरी है, right? If we try to spread our resources too thin, we won't get anything. So I think it's very, very important to be very focused. और जो आपकी strength है उसके ऊपर काम कीजिए, उस area में काम कीजिए. Once you build the critical base, that's when then you take it to the next level.
Thank you so much, Vinod ji. Hope you got that right. And here is a question coming from Chandra Kulkarni ji. Are you still in MFD or RIA? And why you have chosen what you have chosen?
Well, we are MFD. Okay. Why I have chosen? For 2 simple reasons. That if it is, the question is whether, why not RIA and why MFD? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think having seen how things have evolved over a period of time, well, I believe the time has come where people are willing to pay for the advice. Okay, and people understand that they need to get advice, serious advice, because you're talking about the money, which is very, very important for them. I felt that that there was still a large section of investors who are maybe, I won't say prepared for it, but who themselves are still struggling to figure out what mutual funds are. Okay, the struggle for them is to move away from traditional options to market-linked products, but the fear is still there. So I think there is a lot that can be done in this field in terms of reaching out to a number of people, okay, explaining to them, give them life-changing experience of moving away from traditional to market-linked product, and you have a much larger universe of doing things the way you want to do it. So that's the reason why we've chosen to be MFD and not RIA.
Thank you. I think that gives very good satisfaction to many of us. What is the right? I think they got the answer from you. Other questions I can take, you can use the Q&A platform or chat, both I am taking. And here is a question coming to you from Pradeep Jain. Pradeep Jain is asking, can you elaborate building one SIP book? Probably this is not of the branding, but on the expanding the business.
Well, I think this is very critical. This is very critical for the business. Okay, now what happens, I tell you, many of us chase AUM because for obvious reason, because we are in a profession where we earn on the AUM that we build. So obviously the priority is to build AUM as quickly as possible. And somewhere we miss out on understanding the strength of what SIP book can do for the business, right? So it's very, very important to understand that. Take an example, if somebody can build a book of, let's say, 15 lakh or 20 lakh of SIP, okay, what it can do in the next 10 years. While you will still have to figure out what to do for the next 10 years, but you have opened a channel which will take you to completely different level, right? So I think it has to be a special focus on SIP. Of course, for today, for you to survive, you need lump sum money, and there are investors who are willing to do both lump sum as well as this. And I think even as an investment strategy, it's always the combination of lump sum and SIP that gives the best return. So there are opportunities to do both, but I think for any MFD who want to really grow and have a sustainable business, SIP book is something where the focus has to be. Now the question is, how do you increase that? Again, I think increasing SIP book is no different from getting fresh business, whether it's a lump sum or SIP. There's no difference in that. It's just that you need to be focused. You need to look at, target those kind of investors. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about someone who wants to build a larger corpus with a smaller contribution, which means either we're talking about self-employed people or we're talking about youngsters, or we're talking about someone who is in the process of building up a career at some stage. I think that's the target audience that you need to look at. It's no different from getting fresh business, whether it's a lump sum or SIP. But if you are focused on that, you will, kind of give yourself a target. Okay, that every month I'm going to do so many SIPs. Play it like limited over cricket, right? Don't look at 250 score. Look at how much you need to score every over. It becomes easier for you to chase that target. And I think that's how you can get to the target of SIP. And again, I would repeat that I think everyone should really focus on building SIP book, because that's something which can give you a sustainable business over the longer term.
Absolutely. I think, somebody was mentioning other day, like if it is like, NAV of some funds today is 1,000 rupees and somebody has done 10 crores of business, automatically today it is it is 1,000 crores of business. No, that's the way you can look at. And here is a thanking message from you from Vinod Ji. Says, sir, I have listened to you many times on CNBC with Kavita Taplial and you are an inspiration. That's a friend. I think, you got it. That is a brand. That's a reputation. That is a reputation. And here is a question coming to you from Aditya Chauhan, asking, sir, for brand building, which works better? Is it the newspaper article? Is it the hoardings or something else?
No, I think, look, when you talk about hoarding, okay, one, you're spending much more. It's not targeted. Okay, if you're a mutual fund distributor in a city which they have hundreds of them, you have much bigger brand. Through holding, you can't compete with the larger players because the kind of resources they will have, they will be there everywhere. You will not be able to compete with them. Articles can definitely a much more effective way of building a brand. One, like I said, you're sharing information, you're sharing your views with them. Okay, you're trying to become someone who's guiding them. And as I'll keep repeating that is very important to build that emotional connect, to build that brand. And that's what the brand does for you. So newspaper article definitely, is a better way. Once you reach a certain size, maybe you want to increase visibility, you can maybe look at those. But at initially for quite some time, and even later on, the newspaper article will continue to be a very, very effective way of brand building. But again, you have to be very clear that the content that you're providing has to be written in a very simple language, has to be useful to people in their decision-making process, should be a guiding factor for them to manage their money or having a better understanding. And once you start doing that, you will see the difference how people react to you, how people want to talk to you, and maybe want you to manage their money. So I think that is much more effective than just straight away going for the hoarding, because you will be spreading your resources too thin and you won't even know who are you trying to target. Because it's very difficult for someone who's not well known to put something on the hoarding. Okay, you may talk about, let's say, a product, saying, okay, ELSS is a good product, but where are you? You're not even visible there.
Fantastic, sir. And here is the question. I think a lot of questions which are coming in, probably paucity of time, we may not take everything. Please excuse us. Some questions which I'm skipping is on how to select funds and expense ratios. Probably, this is a question related to previous year SIP questions coming from Ganesh Shanbagji. And he says, Hemantji, do you conduct any SIP drives? What strategies do you use for SIP drives?
No, Mr. Rao, we don't conduct SIP drives. For us, it's an ongoing process. It's something that we do, throughout the year, because again, I think it depends on what your business model is and how you operate. For some people, that SIP drive really works. Maybe that can be very motivating also. But we have built a team, and like I said, we have always focused on SIP as a separate channel throughout. Okay, and so it's consistent effort from our side, not having a spurt and then like bringing it down. I think it's consistently throughout the year we continue to work on increasing SIP book.
Fantastic. Friends, I think, SIP, we don't need to drive. It's like a sip of coffee every day morning while you're doing it. It should be a part of your life for every day, and we can do. But this is the last question I can ask you is, for MFD to build a brand, the biggest challenge is there is a huge competition, because, for example, in a single town, the MFD may be a competition to MFD, but there are also you need to compete with the banks, you need to compete with a lot of other distribution, and sometimes it could be fintech and online. then to create that kind of visibility, what are the suggestions you give for an MFD elsewhere? What kind?
Well, if you have to address this to smaller MFDs who have to face competition from the larger entities, I think the first thing I would say before even talking about how to build your brand and how to make your presence felt is never get intimidated. Okay, have faith in your own ability. You started a journey. Everyone was small. Everyone has become larger over a period of time. So you don't have to get intimidated by anyone. You must have faith in your own ability, and you should continue to focus on what you want to achieve rather than getting worried about what the larger players are saying. Because again, let's talk about in a country like ours, we only have 3 or 4% of people investing in mutual funds, right? If it has to go to like 8 and 10%, just look at the universe that is available for you to go and tap the client. So one, never get intimidated. Second, always focus on building strong relationship with the clients. Okay, as I've mentioned throughout my talk, that it's very, very important to earn client loyalty, build emotional connect with them, have a strong relationship with them. It will do two things for you. One, you will not lose your clients. Second, they will become your brand ambassadors, get you more clients. So you need to create a niche for yourself, continue to focus on what you're good at. Second thing is that, yes, the larger players will have more resources, right? Maybe have a stronger brand, but you can have a different approach, okay? Then you have a human approach, human touch. You have a face to what you're doing. People can connect with you, okay, which has its own strength. So I think you need to work around your own strength. Never try to copy the larger players. Never try to do what they are doing because they have resources, they are wherewithal, which you may not have. So like I said, don't get intimidated. Continue to focus on what you want to do. Create your own niche. Work out in which areas you want to work. Because look, if you're an individual MFD, you can't be, if you're in Bombay, you will work on certain areas. Maybe a certain part of Mumbai, you can't go to Thane, you can't go to Pune, you can't be doing that. So work in the area of your strength and you will have plenty of opportunities for you to grow.
Fantastic. I think your competency is your strength, and you are the brand, and you can create your own brand. Nothing to worry. I mean, don't look at obsessed. There is a else competition. Probably you can become bigger than a competition with a consistency. That's what Hemantji's message. Hemantji, before, I mean, it was a very profound session. It's I can say it's one of the best sessions which I can see is a lot to learn from the brand, and it's also an experiential understanding of what you have. And somebody may be a smart, but today he's talking to Wiseinvest, and somebody can become more wiser now. Any passing suggestions for the before final suggestions for the MFDs who are today participating across, either on the Facebook or on the Zoom?
I think one thing I would like to say, look, having spent considerable time in mutual fund industry and outside, and seen the industry in different part of the world, I can say one thing, that this industry is going to become very huge. It's already become big. It's going to become much, much bigger. You will certainly see a shift from traditional options to market link product. So there are going to be huge opportunities for us to grow. We, for example, till today, the only product that we do is only mutual funds. We don't do any other product. That's the kind of faith that I have in mutual fund as a product and its ability to deliver whatever you want to achieve for your clients. So I think be prepared for that. Okay, there are times where there are a lot of hardship. I think keep your focus on the long-term goals. This industry is going to become very big, and there will be ample opportunities for M1, and you will see more and more distributors joining the industry, which we're already seeing the trend. So never get bogged down with the hardship that you have to face at times when you're trying to build up your business. Remember, this is going to be a big business. This is going to be a big opportunity. Just continue to focus on that. And when you look back, you will realize that you became a part of something which is very, very interesting. And you're actually giving life-changing experiences to people. When you're moving them from traditional to market-link product, they're able to build wealth. They're able to realize their dreams. That's the best feeling that you can get as a mutual fund distributor.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful message. And friends, I think the final message is very clear. MFD business or RIA business is business of helping the people. The better way to build your business is more people you help. And it's all that what you want to do and how you want to do and how you need to help your customer, how you can create impact on your customer. That's the most important part of it to build a brand. And probably, Wiseinvest, WISE is like we always talk about invest wisely, and Hemant ji is, nice to share. And probably the Wiseinvest is for all of us to become a brand is the WISE. Wealth invested systematically will always enhance the value. That's the WISE for all of us. And it is such a nice conversation with Hemant ji. And it is all that what we need to do is like journey from 0 to 1350 crores is over a period is not easy, and who got a visionary and who got a vision for the next 15 years or next 50 years for the country. And he definitely believes probably 5 years later, if we are talking to him, it could be a 13,000 crores or 15,000 crores. It is a business only will grow. And all that what you need to do is what you are doing it right and what you are doing with a discipline. You put it, repetition is a mantra, is you need to do repetition, and repetition will give you the referrals will give you the recurring business, and that's where you are you are creating a wealth for the customer, and wealth is created for you. All that what we need to do is we need to act authentically, and we need to work appropriately. That's a message from Hemant ji. And since this is coming from the Cafemutual, I can say I can sum it up Cafemutual side, CAFE, Cafemutual of acronym. If I can look at what Hemant ji said to us is the C stands for the very customer centricity. You need to be customer oriented, and that's what he spoke about, communication. C, and A is adhering to the values. That's where you create value for your customer. And if his focus is most important, focus is your customer, and he is engaging rightly and engaging regularly. Then you become a Cafemutual, and you are a mutual friend for your customer, and you are a mutual fund, you are a mutual friend. Thanks, Hemant ji. It's an honor to have this conversation with you. I invite Nishant, and I not only respect you as my senior in Purvashram, but I have a lot of admiration for you, what you do it, and look forward to for a longer association, and wishing Wiseinvestment and entire community of Wiseinvestment all the good luck. I wish all our audience to stay healthy, stay safe. I will not say stay positive. I'll say stay optimistic, because sometime recently when I am positive, I said change the word from positive to optimism. Over to Nishant. Thank you so much, Hemant.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to chat with you on this very interesting topic. And
thank you so much, Hemant and Mr. Rao. So Hemant, you have rightly pointed out that brand building is a continuous process and consistency is key here. So मैं सबको बोलना चाहता हूँ कि जैसे कि जिम जाने से एक दिन में बॉडी नहीं बनती, you have to be regular, right? तो उस over the period of time you will see the result. वैसे ही अपने ब्रांड बिल्डिंग भी कंटिन्यूस प्रोसेस है, जो कि हेमंत ने बहुत अच्छे से हमें समझाया है. And with that, we have come to an end to this interesting session. Thank you so much, Hemant, for such an insightful session. A lot of takeaways for all of us. And Mr. Rao, you have like always, you have put very well all the information in perspective. You did a fantastic job, Mr. Rao. And finally, I thank each one of you for being such a wonderful audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nishant. Thank you, Mr. Rao.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, and all the best, and happy Republic Day in advance.
Happy Republic Day.
Bye then.